Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, bettingangle.us, a free site. It's December 5th, 2023. Let's give an update on the Haney Regis Prograis fight. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, let me just say, this is a big event. It's even bigger than I realized. I saw the event. I thought, okay, two guys at 140, that's interesting. I heard the fight was at the Chase Center in Northern California, right? I thought, hey, that's interesting. I thought that they'd be fortunate to have 7,000 people. I was wrong, right? Very wrong. According to reports, the Chase Center is going to be configured for 16,000 fans. Right? The Chase Center, we'll call it the house that Steph built. Right? Warriors banners hang from the ceiling. Well, just understand that it's a certainty that at least 10,000 seats have already been sold. There's talk here about it being a sellout. A friend contacted me. He wanted to know if I was going to the fight. I'm not. Some subscribers have contacted me, wanted to know if I was going to be at the fight. In other words, folks, this is an event with buzz, right? I was wrong. My 7,000 figure was foolish in hindsight, right? Let me also point out a big fact that really needs to be considered. There's a very strong, and I mean very strong, Asian influence in the Bay Area. Right? I've had, and I continue to have, Asian clients, right? I'll just say, if in fact this show delivers, if you're watching on the pay-per-view and you sense the electricity, right? This feels like T-Mobile or what have you, then I need for folks to understand boxing has a huge event that really is going to be upon us at some time, right? It's Zhili Zhang's ongoing march toward the heavyweight title, right? I'm just telling people that Zhang is really a promotional moment for the sport. I'd love to see Zhili Zhang fight whoever wins the Usyk-Fury matches in Macau, right? Understand, Macau has huge casinos. China has several cities that are bigger than New York City, right? Understand, China right now, over the last 25 years, has become an economic juggernaut. I understand. Peter Zeihan, let me give him a plug, is talking about China's demographic problems. Okay, fair enough. Investors know about China's real estate problems. Okay, we all understand that, right? I'm not saying that China is a perfect country. What country is? But what I am telling you is Zhili Zhang had a fight and 60 million people in China tuned in for the fight. I have no doubt that if Zhang were to fight in Macau for the heavyweight crown, and life's unfair. I know there's some great fighters in the sport, but the heavyweight championship is the biggest prize in the sport of boxing. Right, folks? I'm guessing you would easily top the 60 million people who watched Zhang's earlier fight. Understand, China right now, for all of its demographic problems, is something like 3 times the size of the United States in population. Well, if people are afraid of traveling all the way to Asia, right? After all, Mike Tyson lost his belt in Asia, right, to Buster Douglas, right? If fighters are like, hey, I want to stay on American soil or whatever, right? The Chase Center, a premier venue in San Francisco, would create a commercial bonanza, right? That's if it can deliver here in this fight, because I'm just telling you that here in the land of Joe DiMaggio, you didn't think it was New York City, did you? In the land of Joe DiMaggio, right out here, Bay Area, in the land of Tom Brady. Let me name some other locals, right? Barry Bonds, right? Well before he became a Giant. Out here in this part of the woods, as I said in an earlier video, boxing hasn't had the success that baseball, basketball, or football has had. If that's changed, and a lot's changing in San Francisco, right? Downtown, the commercial real estate market is in flux, right? This new Generation Z has their own preferences. This fight's very important because if this fight is a commercial bonanza, folks, to me, that opens the door, right? Well, let's get back to Haney and Prograis. So this fight might well be a fight where Haney has a huge home ring advantage, right? Regis Prograis is from New Orleans. I'll be shocked if the majority of the people coming to this fight are coming to root for Prograis. But let me tell you what else shocks me, and I'll tell you when I'm baffled before a fight. I'm absolutely baffled. I mean completely baffled as to why Haney, who just got tested by a southpaw in Lomachenko, right? Many of you believe he lost that fight. Why Haney against another southpaw? And Haney hasn't shown any great ability against southpaws. Why Haney is going off as the big favorite here. I need for folks to understand that even if Haney is the fighter loved by the crowd, Prograis with 24 stoppages in 30 fights. Prograis with KOs in 4 of his last 5 fights. Is not planning on relying on the judges here. Right, folks, Prograis is a knockout puncher. I argue that he has one of the biggest punches, pound for pound, in the entire sport. Right? Prograis is coming to end the fight, folks. He's not hoping to be still upright at the end of 12, sweating, hearing the judges' scorecards. Right? Also, Haney, for everything Haney's done, Haney needed that 12th round against Lomachenko, didn't he? How many people watching this video believe Loma hits as hard as Prograis, or is even in the area code? Understand too, normally when you see a fight like this one, right, where the line is set up in such a way where they're telling you they expect it to go the distance, you understand for this fight to go the distance, Haney has to fight a perfect fight, right? Because when you're with a puncher on par with Prograis, you're dealing with a live hand grenade, right? This is like walking across a field with some mines. Heavy punchers only have to be right once, right? Understand, we can criticize punchers. Right now, we're all wondering what happens when Anthony Joshua fights Otto Wallin, right? But you understand, Joshua only has to be right once. That last fight against Helenius is looking tough, wasn't he? Fight makes it into the 7th round, and then boom. One punch later, Helenius is out cold, right? Even his corner understood, hey, we can't let our guy continue after that shot. Well, folks, that's the kind of power Prograis has. Normally, when a champ is the puncher in a fight and the other guy really only has one path to victory, which is to be on his back foot, which is to get a decision, And you understand there are fights, that first Wilder Fury fight, where Fury's outboxing Wilder. But if the puncher knocks you down a couple of times, suddenly the scorecards become complicated. So in the comment section of this video, let's make this two-way, because I'm baffled. When I first looked up this fight, I thought Prograis, the champ, at a higher weight class than where Haney had success, right? Haney's coming up in weight, and Prograis a heavy puncher for 140. Haney's coming up from 135, right? I thought certainly, since it's Prograis' title, and since, as I said in an earlier video, and I understand, many of you have expressed your disagreement in the comment section of that video. You know, it's my belief that ties go to the champ. That if I'm going to take your title, I have to make it clear that I've taken your title. That it can't be a photo finish. Right? Given that it's Prograis' title, that he's from the bigger weight division, that he's the bigger puncher, that the Zorilla guy, who he beat by split decision, right, is the only guy in Prograis' last 5 fights that made it the distance. If you look at Prograis against Terry Flanagan years ago, you're going to notice that before that Flanagan fight, Prograis was on a knockout streak there too. Understand, Prograis fought Josh Taylor. This is the only loss Prograis has on his record. And that's a photo finish. That's a location fight. The fight was in Taylor's backyard. Also, Taylor was riding high at that point. Now I think Taylor's skills have slipped a little bit. Right? That Jack Catterall fight, that Teofimo Lopez fight, didn't quite look like the same Josh Taylor who fought Prograis. I'd say Taylor was at the height of his success at that time. And understand, Taylor's different than Haney. Right? Taylor's a southpaw. And given the fact that Prograis is a southpaw, like Loma, I thought Prograis would be the favorite here. Let me add a caveat in this video, and it's going to be controversial. Let me say, too, that I believe it actually helps Regis that he was so heavily criticized after his last fight. I made a post-fight video after his fight against Zorilla. I criticized him. I pointed out that he got knocked down in that fight, which he did. The ref missed it. We didn't miss it. I want you to go back and look at the film. Prograis gets hit. Prograis goes down. Folks, that's not a slip. Well, just understand, so many people have criticized Prograis' inability to cut off the ring. Prograis' seemingly slow foot speed from that Zorilla fight, that Prograis now has had the opportunity to work on those things. In other words, Prograis, who was fighting at home, and sometimes these backyard fights hurt you because you're there, you're the center of attention, the press is talking to you, it's taken away from your training. Right? It's a big ego rush. Everyone's saying, hey, champ, what's going to happen? Hey, champ, what's going to happen? You're home. There's no stress. Right? You're in familiar surroundings. Right? What I'm saying is this fight's different, folks. He's not home. He knows people are criticizing his foot speed. He understands it's an issue. So while Prograis was asleep for his last fight, he's wide awake right now. And he's a warrior. He's not the kind of guy who's going to sleepwalk through this fight. You can imagine he's going to be running over to Devin Haney. And let's be real about Devin Haney. Right? Devin Haney doesn't hit like Anthony Joshua. It's not like a puncher like Prograis is going to run over there and is going to think, uh-oh. You know, if I run in too recklessly, This brother might blindside me and take me out. Right, folks, he's not fighting Arthur Beterbiev. Right, he's not fighting Anthony Yarde. He's not fighting Canelo. Where you understand, hey, if I'm reckless, that next punch might be the last punch of the fight. No, he's the puncher in the fight. Regis Prograis. It's even worse than that. Haney, who wasn't a big puncher at 135, is now up at 140. So look, I don't think Prograis is going to have a problem chasing down Devin Haney. Right? I don't. Let me also say this too. There's a sizable age gap here, right? Around 9 years or so. But understand that power is the last to go. Right? You don't believe me? Just look at the heavyweight division right now. You don't want to get hit by Zhilei Zhang. You don't want to get hit by Luis Ortiz. Those guys are in their 40s. You don't want to get hit by Deontay Wilder. He's in his late 30s. Right? Power is the last to go. How old was George Foreman when he stopped Michael Moore? Right, folks? I wouldn't want to get hit by Lennox Lewis today. Right? Power is the last to go. Prograis isn't planning on winning this fight on his back foot running. That's not him. So I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. I'm missing something. If you believe Devin Haney had problems against the last southpaw he fought, how's he not going to have problems here? Let me say too, I saw Jack Catterall. As I've said before, Catterall's better than I thought. But Catterall himself is not a big puncher. I'll give Catterall credit for dropping Josh Taylor. Right? But Catterall's not a big puncher. But yet, Catterall had Jorge Linares in the middle of that fight in all kinds of trouble. Right? All kinds of trouble. Well, Linares gets beaten by Devin Haney. He's never in that kind of trouble. The entire fight. In fact, the biggest punch landed in that fight was a Linares punch. And Devin Haney was shaken. Haney, at the end of the round, seemed to stagger back to his corner. Right? So, folks, the point I'm making here, Catterall, of course, fights at 140. 140 is a different world than 135. Right? The guys here hit harder. Jorge Linares at 135, he's clean. He's not getting hit that much. You know, he's fighting a young guy who's moving away from him, doesn't want to be near him. Right? He lands one shot in the fight. It staggers the opponent. Just understand, at 140, Linares is having to deal with trying to stay upright against Jack Catterall. Now, you got to give Regis Prograis something to keep him from bum rushing the pocket. In the comment section of this video, folks, tell us what Devin Haney is going to be able to do to keep Prograis from diving into the pocket. Right, folks? I think Prograis hits harder than Jorge Linares, who buzzed Devin Haney. Looking at that Loma fight, wasn't one of the punches of that fight Loma's straight left? Right, folks? If we're going to criticize Prograis off the Zorilla performance and say, gee, are we sure Prograis can do better than that? Why aren't we criticizing Haney off the Loma performance? And why doesn't the criticism say, hell, I'd be willing to take a punch from Loma. I'm not going to even think about taking a punch from Regis Prograis. Right? So I'm baffled. This is one of those I'm baffled moments. For me, this bet makes itself. Right? I'm looking at the odds, then I see the bigger man with the bigger punch. And I'm getting better than 2-1. Hey, man, look, the fight could be at Haney's living room. that doesn't mean that Haney's going to have the bigger punch in the fight. Right? And you know my old school mindset, I'm like, Prograis the champ? To me, that's going to give him the benefit of the doubt. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, if it's the 12th round, if the fight makes it 12 rounds, and you and I know when you're fighting punchers, that's an accomplishment. If the fight makes it 12 rounds, and, I'm still trying to figure out who has won the fight, I'm going to side with the champ. Isn't that what happened in Haney's favor in the Lomachenko fight? Well, folks, here, that could easily happen in Prograis' favor. Right? This fight might even look like that Wilder-Fury fight, where Fury's outboxing him, but Fury also hits the canvas a couple of times. Right? So, folks, this isn't Haney fighting Yorkis Gamboa at some lighter weight. No, this is Haney fighting a guy who's only lost once to Josh Taylor in Taylor's backyard. And Taylor back then was a great fighter, in my opinion, right? Let's remember, Taylor beats Jose Ramirez in his career. Right? That was a big ask. If that's if that's Prograis' only loss, how is he a greater than plus 200 underdog? A better question would be, would you make Prograis a better than 200 underdog against Teofimo Lopez? Against Josh Taylor today? Right, folks, there's nobody at 140 who I would make Prograis this much of an underdog against. Especially not some guy who didn't have a punch at 135 who's new to the division. Right? So I don't get the odds. And I'm someone who criticized Prograis for that Zorilla fight. Right? The video's here online. Right? I criticized Prograis. Well, now, I'll just say, we've seen Haney, Lomachenko, right? These odds, they're preposterous. You only get crazy odds like this in boxing, right? In football, I'm not going to suddenly see the Niners as a plus 200 underdog to, some team that hasn't, played them before. Right? So for me, I still stand on my base bet being Regis Prograis to win. Right? I don't even have to be clever here. They're giving me a better than plus 200. Right? It's Regis Prograis to win. It's Haney to win by decision. I don't think Haney has the punch to stop Prograis. Understand, while Prograis has lost once in his career, again, 24 knockouts in 30 fights, while he's lost once in his career, he went the distance in that fight. Think about it. Anyway, that's how I see it. I'll concede I was wrong. It looks like this fight is going to have a huge crowd. Looks like there's going to be excitement. I hope boxing is organized enough to give Zhilei Zhang a prominent seat, right? Just have him in the crowd, right? You know the way they do it at fights. They say, hey, look who's here. Then they scan around and there might be some Golden State Warrior there, whatever, right? Might be some Bay Area legends there. Tom Brady might be there. Maybe Bonds, right? Maybe Willie Mays, maybe Jerry, maybe Joe. Just have Zhilei Zhang there. Kind of like see the roar of the crowd. If it's an event, folks, this is one of the few places, to me, that's capable of maximizing the commercial potential of a big-time Zhilei Zhang fight. Let me put it to you this way. If Zhang doesn't get an opportunity to fight Tyson Fury or Usyk, for whatever reason, right? The Usyk people are saying, curiously, that a fight against Deontay Wilder would be worth their time. I get the feeling Usyk, is planning a retirement. He wants to take care of Fury. Then he wants to take care of another guy who was a champion during his career, right? He's already taken care of AJ. I believe he pivots toward Deontay Wilder. If, in fact, Zhilei Zhang doesn't get a shot on, Usyk for that reason, right? Then if Usyk pivots toward the winner, well, if Usyk pivots toward Anthony Joshua, right, the fight to me has to be at the Chase Center if it's not in Macau. By the way, the heir apparent, right? I'm still talking up this guy. I know the public hasn't caught on yet. Filip Hrgovic has already announced that he's willing to fight Zhilei Zhang in a rematch in China. Food for thought. Let's hope Zhilei Zhang is at this fight just to wave to the crowd, right? Let me say, too, I know Zhang is in the Northeast. I was raised in New York City, got nothing against New York City. Right? Got absolutely nothing against New York City. Madison Square Garden would be an excellent venue for this fight. Right? So would the Barclays Center. But let's just say the Chase Center, being physically closer to China, would really set it off. One man's opinion. Let me hear yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.